Perfect. Everyone should be able to see that. So, hey everyone. I feel like everyone did introductions and I didn't, so I'll do one very quickly. So, my name's Amber Shand, and in 2020, I decided to learn how to code, eventually land my role as a software engineer, and now I run my Women in Tech community, She Bites Back, full time. And this is a topic that I'm extremely passionate about because when I was learning how to code, no one had warned me just how challenging it would be to transition from something that was non-technical into something technical. So to give you some context, I really struggled at university learning economics and accounting. And for so long, I just felt like I just wasn't good enough. And so when I did my internship in Madrid, it came across to me that, okay, I do not want to work in finance. And that's actually okay. I met so many digital nomads who are learning how to code, traveling the world. And I was like, you know what? Let this be me. They encouraged me to learn how to code. So I was like, okay, when I get back to London, I'm going to do Code First Girls. I'm going to learn how to code. So I did their web development course, I did their Python course. And because I'm so naive, I was like, I can get myself an internship. When it came to finance, people from history, any other background could really land their role in finance. You didn't have to have a whole portfolio of all the accounts that you've balanced and all your experience in finance. So I assumed it would be the same for technology, and I was completely wrong. So when I was applying for internships, it was a case of them saying things like, oh, you need to have, why don't you have a computer science degree? We're very confused here. And things like, what projects have you built? What languages have you learned? And I realized that, okay, I've taken it a step too far here. I'm definitely not in a position for me to land this internship because, as far as I'm concerned, internships, you don't really know anything anyway. So I was like, okay, this is definitely a slice of humble pie here. So I ended up going back to university, which was actually essentially 2 years after my peers. But unfortunately for me, I happened to graduate in the dreaded year of 2020, which meant that my exams were essentially online now, open book, which was delicious. But I did have the extra time now to really learn how to code. And I started to teach other people. So I was looking at computer science degree students and I was like, how can I stand up from them? Because clearly I don't have a computer science degree. I don't come from this background, but I am very passionate about learning how to code and breaking into tech. And that's when I decided to also instruct other women how to code whilst I was still learning. And it was just funny because they'd ask me questions like, how do you land the first role? And I'm like, I'm literally in the same boat as you. So let's just like exchange notes on how we're doing it together. And it was actually really reaffirming in terms of when you're learning something new and you're able to teach it, it actually helps you to build up that confidence that you know what you're doing. And it really helped me a lot in my interviews. The issue was now when I did land my first role, and I'm in a room, virtual room, of course, and it's a group assessment, and I'm looking for any other ambers because I'm almost paranoid that they might just say the wrong amber if I'm rejected or accepted. And so I'm thinking, I didn't do this well in this interview. Like, I'm definitely not going to get it. So the next day when I got the phone call, I'm shocked that I've actually landed this role, but also I'm thinking to myself, what if they decided that they're going to take this away from me? What if they actually did get the wrong amber and they accidentally called me and they're going to say, apologies, we got the wrong person. You definitely didn't get the job here. Because there was this fear that I just had this like stroke of luck here. So maybe if I had a different interviewer, I probably wouldn't have gotten it. Or like maybe I just got lucky that they happened to ask the questions I need the answer to and things like that. But that is something that we now know as imposter syndrome. And it's funny that this image that you see here is when I was around 10 weeks into the role in 2021. And we were doing a Java course, and it was so hard. Like, and it was a case of me going to this environment, and I'm definitely like one of the worst people at this course at this point. I'm really struggling with it. So the fact that I was winning this award because I was doing so much to empower other women in tech whilst I was breaking in, I felt like a literal fraud. I was like, I couldn't post about it online. So, and I was very active on LinkedIn at this time because I felt super insecure. And I was so scared that people in the course would be like, how is Amber winning this award when she's not even the best one out of us and all these things? And we've come to know that as imposter syndrome, right? So the term imposter syndrome refers to the notion that some individuals feel like they've ended up in esteemed roles and positions, not because of their competencies. So I wasn't looking at all the work I'd actually done to land that role, but because of some oversight or stroke of luck. And I'm not alone in this. Can anyone like in the chat say whether they've actually experienced this before? Can I get a yes or no? Or just share your experience if you'd like. I see Heather's camera's on. So I feel like you have something to share. Okay, we're seeing yeses. Do you want to share something, Heather?
No, I just think it's so common. And I thought it was only common for people early in their careers, right? So I thought like, oh, well, this makes sense because it's my first time in this role, or, oh, okay, well, I got a promotion, but it's because they know me here, and it's more because they like me than because I'm skilled or whatever. But what I learned when I got my current role as head of product and joined the leadership team is absolutely everyone, all of my peers on the leadership team and those above me on the leadership team all suffer from this as well. It doesn't go away.
Yes. And that's been the most humbling realization, right? It's literally someone said to me recently, new level, new devil. So as you progress, there's always something that like it makes you feel like that oversight or that stroke of luck. And yeah, literally over 70% of people experience it. So I decided that I was experiencing imposter syndrome so much, and I felt like the people that I was around was also experiencing it. It was a huge learning curve, like coming from a non-technical background, leaning into people, also career changing. And so I decided to do some research on it. And this is what I found. So essentially, this was actually studied. It was originally known as the imposter phenomenon. It was studied in 1978 by two doctors, Dr. Pauline Clance and Dr. Stephanie Imes. And they studied high performing women in a clinical setting. And they realized that the people that experienced this fraudulence weren't people who had no credentials. It was actually more prevalent in people who were the highest achieving. And so they found that the 6 ways that imposter syndrome can show up. So the first way is the imposter cycle. So think about whenever you receive like a new task at work or even at university, you receive an assignment. So you get your achievement related task at first, and that triggers that anxiety, the self-doubt, like, and you feel worried and maybe a bit panicked about it. And there's 2 ways that people in the imposter syndrome respond. There's either the over preparation or the procrastination. Can you please say whether you're the over preparer or the procrastinator in the chat? I'm seeing laughs from Heather. Okay, Amy's an over preparer. Oh, okay, nice. We see 2 over preparers. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm shocked. I've never been in a room full of over preparers. I wasn't expecting this. Oh wow, how interesting. Okay, I'll be honest, I cannot relate. I'm an avoidant. I'm a procrastinator. Okay, and so when it comes to like how you over prepare, then so you over prepare, you go above and beyond, you spend all those extra hours, and then you probably do get the achievement related thing that you wanted, or you get the task done, but like the feeling of relief doesn't actually last that long because you credit the amount of effort that it took and say, oh, like I spent so long doing it. And you almost use that as a reason to discount your positive feedback versus using it as fuel to say, oh, yeah, like done this, and you feel that relief. And as Emma just said, it's exhausting. And those who procrastinate, like myself, like we procrastinate and then we panic in like the last 2 or week before the deadline. And then you feel the relief once it's done. But because when you do get the positive feedback, if you did do well on it, you just attribute it to luck. Like, oh, I just got lucky because technically I only did this in the last week when I was panicking about it. But no matter what way you respond to it, you always tend to discount positive feedback. And then you go back to that feeling of anxiety, like that perceived fraudulence, and increased self-doubt. And it's literally like a cycle that way. And another way it can show up is what I like to call the procrastinating perfectionist, which clearly none of you can relate to, but we'll still go through it anyway, right? So before I get into perfectionism, I do want to say that there's a difference between a healthy pursuit for excellence and an unhealthy pursuit for perfection. So this is literally me at the top of my game, like, come on, it can't be that hard. And then this is also me when I'm stressed out and just completely overwhelmed, like, oh my goodness. Um, but Brene Brown describes it perfectly. She describes perfectionism as an unhealthy and addictive belief system that fuels this primary thought that if I look perfect and do everything perfectly, I can avoid or minimize the painful feelings of blame, judgment, and shame. And so when it comes to the procrastinating perfectionist, they literally feel like they can't make any mistakes, because if they make a mistake, it actually reinforces this idea that they are an imposter. So they have unrelenting high standards, which means that no matter what they achieve, they won't really feel that sense of anxiety because there's always areas of improvement. So there's also another archetype, which is the effortless genius. So this is the person that, you know, when you learn new things, they normally perceive their self-worth from getting it quickly. So they have the thought of, if I don't grasp things almost immediately, then I'm inadequate. So think about the person that may like go to a social and it might be bowling and it's their first time bowling, but they want to be like a bowling whiz straight away. And it's just not realistic. You haven't really done it before, but they definitely do get their self-worth from like their ability just to pick things up extremely quickly. And then the independent achiever. If I need help, then I'm a fraud. We've all come across this person, and it might even be you. Whenever they're struggling, they feel like if I ask for help, then I shouldn't have to ask for help. I should be able to do this independently. And I guess in the age of AI as well, like they probably lean in more to AI. It's actually quite interesting because I met this kind of people and they feel two ways about AI. Either AI is great because they can ask all the questions that they need without feeling exposed, but also that feeling of cheating, that if I use AI, then it actually reinforces that I'm a fraud because I didn't come up with it, AI did. So that's actually been a really interesting thing that I've observed in people as well. And of course, the superhero, this is literally the person that normally comes in first, leaves last in the office. Everyone looks to them and they're super reliable, but they have this feeling that they need to be able to excel in every single thing that they do. So they normally would be generalists, I would say, because they feel like they should be able to. So, for example, like all the different tasks that may not even be within their remit, they feel this need to be able to show up fully for them as well, but they have unrelenting high standards. And finally, we have the expert, and this is also me, I'll be honest. Like, I need to know everything before I can say that I'm competent. So this is the person that loves learning, but they see it as, because there's always something to learn, there's always constantly a gap, and they never actually know enough. So these are the interesting archetypes. And I'm really curious to know, which archetype did you relate the most to? And feel free to unmute yourselves and we can chat about it. Amy says, this is like you're reading my life story.
Yeah, every single one I relate to.
Oh,
It
wow.
was like it's shocking how it made me laugh how that you've just read out exactly how I feel, or will think in my brain and feel, but there's words for it, if that makes
Yeah,
sense. Like, I know there's words for it, but when you hear someone read out exactly how you feel, and it can be hard to talk about as well. You know, in work, you don't want to be saying, "Oh, I feel incompetent. I feel this. I feel that," because you know you're meant to put your best foot forward,
exactly.
not act like you don't know what you're doing, even though sometimes you feel that way. Um, yeah, it's funny hearing it out loud from someone else.
Yeah, it's shocking, isn't it?
I mean, I
Thank you
think
for sharing that, Amy. Does anyone else want to share or type in the chat as well?
I think for me, it's interesting when I look at this five types. It's stuff that I have been through over the course of my career. Is definitely not where I am now. But when I look at all the academic, oh yeah, I do remember feeling this, that, and the other. And I'm just thinking to myself while I'm reading it, how did I find balance? And how did I get to a place where these are now not things that sort of limit or block or make me feel a certain kind of way. So you're giving me food for thought, Amber. Thanks.
Yeah, no, thank you. And it's so nice to hear that you've overcome all those things as well. It gives other people so much hope that it may not be as intense as it used to be as well.
Yeah. I mean, I still do get it once in a while, especially the bit where it says, if I don't grasp it immediately, I'm inadequate. And then the part where you said the superhero, I should excel in every role, you sort of compared it to being a generalist. In my role as a project manager, I feel like I need to be a generalist because I work with tech people. So I need to be able to talk to them in a lingo that they understand even at just as a basic level. So again, I feel like those two things are sort of conflicting because I don't have to have all the knowledge, but I should be able to ask questions in terms of stuff that I'm waiting for as a deliverable. So essentially, that's where I have to make sure that I can speak in a language that they understand, or if they've got an issue or a blocker or anything that's going to impact my deliverable, I should be able to go back to relay that in business speak, the technical element of what is causing the delay. So that's how I look at the generalist bit of my job. But yeah, I do fluctuate between the effortless and the superhero, definitely.
Interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that. Does anyone else want to share? This has been a nice open conversation.
Yeah, I can share. I would identify that at particularly one point in my career, I would have been called, I could call myself the superhero, dealing with the superhero type. Because I shifted careers when I moved from the States to Europe. And then I started working for a tech company. I started working as a computational linguist. And they decided that I would be better as a product manager. And I knew nothing about product. I was trained to be a language teacher. And it struggled a lot with feeling inadequate because I feel that I should excel in every role, even one that I didn't know existed before they decided to put me in it, that I have no studies or that I at that time had no studies or background in. It was not an excuse. It was just drive to, knock it out of the park with this role that 6 months before I didn't even know existed. It's possibly gotten a little bit better, but still lurking there.
Yeah,
Still,
it just lingers
still
in the back, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Heather, do you want to add?
Sure, happy to. I mean, I've definitely felt all 5 of these at various points in my career. And I was reflecting while you were speaking about them. It sort of reminds me, I also, like Gina, started my career, it feels like a lifetime ago, in teaching. And when I think back to the type of teacher that I was, I always tried to be the guide on the side, not the sage on the stage. So as a teacher, I didn't want to know everything. And I didn't want to understand immediately because I believe in inductive learning and I think you have to make mistakes in order to learn. So I believed in making mistakes and I believed in asking for help for my students.
Got you.
Right? All of those things, but for my students, not necessarily for me. And when I moved out of teaching and into technology roles, sometimes I forget to allow myself to be the student because we are all constantly learning and growing. And these are the behaviors, and I work at an ed tech, right? These are the behaviors I want our users to amplify, but we're not always as kind to ourselves.
Yeah, it can be easier to show up for other people, and then when it's ourselves, we kind of take that back seat. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Heather. Okay, we'll carry on. So no, thank you. It's actually been really nice for everyone to share their experiences, and it's unfortunate just how common it is because it can lead to self-destructive behaviors. Like we may not go after the opportunities that we're actually qualified for in these things. Like I see a lot of people saying that imposter syndrome is a good thing because you're growing, and I do think it is a sign of growth because when you are growing, you do feel that resistance towards it. Growth is something that is not comfortable. But what isn't great about imposter syndrome is when it is holding yourself back from taking that leap and believing in yourself and going forward to even like do things like move across the country like a few of you have, or career change, or go for that promotion, or being able to speak and convey your ideas. That's when like it just does not benefit us. So imposter syndrome is a very, very interesting thing that we experience, and whether it's good or bad, it's just, I guess it's quite debatable. But I do want to talk about the inherent biases that exist as well. Like your work does not always speak for yourself. And the greatest example I can give is Dr. Anne Maria Maffedon. So she is literally a prodigy in every sense of the word. Like at age 11, she was the youngest girl ever to pass A-level computing. And for those who don't necessarily come from a UK educational system, A-level computing is something that you complete when you're between the ages of 16 and 18. So the fact that she was able to do this at age 11 is just absolutely insane, and was just 20 years old when she received her master's degree in mathematics and computer science from the University of Oxford. So you can tell that this person is literally a genius, right? Like super smart, super from a young age. But the issue was that when she did land the role as basically she was given maternity cover for this really popular show, Countdown, and these racist trolls were saying that it was so to tick boxes and they vowed to boycott the show. And it was just so disappointing because she's just so intelligent, but it was just a down to, oh, it's just down to tick boxes. And that was so disappointing to see. And I've had comments like this, like, oh, it would be easy for you to land a role because you're a woman, and loads of tech companies are looking for women nowadays. And so that's what also actually amplified this feeling of imposter syndrome. So before we said like it's down to some overstrike or luck, but I was now paranoid that what if people just think I'm some kind of diversity hire? And that was just really, I really struggled with that for a long time, because there's this issue of tokenism, right? So tokenism is essentially the practice of doing something, such as hiring a person who belongs to a minority group, only to prevent criticism and give the appearance that people are treated fairly. And that was something that I definitely don't believe in. Like when we have these arguments that the most qualified person should get the role, I do not think that I only want to get the role because I'm a woman. Like I definitely also believe I am qualified for it. And so this is an issue that we speak a lot in the DI world as well. But a really great article that challenges everything I've just said as well is called Stop Telling Women That They Have Imposter Syndrome. This is such an interesting article. I would highly recommend that you use it and that you read it. It just talks about the systems that are in place that make women feel that imposter syndrome relatively more than men. We both know that everyone experiences it, but the degree to which you experience it is completely different depending on where you come from. So I would highly recommend that, and I should link that in the comments soon. But we want to talk about toolkits and what really helps when we're dealing with that imposter syndrome. So as we just spoke about, normalize it and talk about it. We've just done that in this group. We realized that, okay, thank you, Amy, for linking it. We've just done this in this group. We realize, okay, we're not alone. We may not be absolutely crazy for having these thoughts. And it helps to actually just open up about what we're feeling. In the workplace, it's definitely more challenging to have these conversations. I've definitely been in environments where I have opened up and it was used against me in terms of, oh, okay, like, I don't think you're ready for this because you're telling me about your insecurities about feeling ready for this. And I just realized that you really need to read a room and be careful when you are opening up about these things, especially when you are super ambitious and you really want to succeed. And keeping a wins journal. So imposter syndrome also comes from forgetting all the hard work that you've done and minimizing it. Sometimes it just takes you to look at a document. So whether that on Excel, you write about all the tasks that you've done, the impact that you've had, and then the feedback that you've received. Or I personally, because I'm a visual person, I've got pictures. So even like I will have pictures of like, sometimes I take a screenshot, especially when I've done like an event and people say how much they love it and things like that. Or I've gone to an event and I feel like I made really good connections or whatever that is. I sometimes just take a video of me going to the park because I don't know if like you won't know this, but I actually love ducks. And so it's a win that I'm going out feeding my ducks in Bedford and it's just amazing. So definitely keeping a wins journal to remind yourself that, okay, I might be feeling like absolute crap today. Like everything's going wrong. Like my imposter syndrome is through the roof. Let me just know that I've actually done something with my life here, and going back to that journal makes a massive difference. And of course, because we're all very ambitious here, setting realistic goals. And I know that can be 50-50. I definitely do like to aim big, but have a level of detachment to whether I actually achieve it or not. If you can do that, then definitely go for that. But if you're one of those people that love to set really big goals and if you don't achieve it, you feel like the worst person in the world, then it is actually more healthy to set a lower bar so that you can feel like, okay, I've actually managed to reach this and I feel more accomplished. It's about also working towards like what actually works for you and what doesn't. So it's definitely a toolkit that is personable for you. Like I can say what works for me, but that still may not resonate for you. But I would always encourage experimentation because it's so powerful. And then, of course, reframing failing as learning. I think that this was easier for me when I got into tech, because with finance, no one is going to encourage you, just break the books, pay this person 100 grand more than they should have, or like, don't worry about the budget. They're never going to say that. But as a software engineer, you're literally breaking things constantly. You're breaking things all the time. And it's actually just normal at this point. You just have to be solutions oriented. So it's actually helped me to build that growth mindset of seeing failure as learning opportunities. And if your workplace allows it, especially if they have that psychological safety to do so, it makes the ultimate difference. Because Will Smith even spoke about failing often, fail early, and failing forward, and that no successful person has ever got there from never ever failing. Everyone fails. It's just part of the human experience. It's just about what we do with it. We may not feel great after a failure, definitely would cry after some interviews, for sure. But then, even when it came to interviewing, I would always write down the questions that they asked me. So when it came to the next interview, I was always more prepared because I'd just gone through that experience and I had to learn the tough way. Sometimes that's just the case. And then, of course, practicing some self-compassion. We can be so mean to ourselves. Like Heather gave such a good example when she's talking about being able to stand up for her students, but then, like when it came to herself, like putting herself in the back burner. Like we can be so compassionate when it comes to our friends and people around us, but when it comes to ourselves, we just don't give ourselves that same grace. It's definitely a practice, and it takes a lot of intentionality because you have to pay attention to the thoughts and what you're telling yourself. But reframing that and taking a step back and just encouraging kindness and allowing yourself to grow and make mistakes because it's part of the journey, it makes the ultimate difference. I remember everything changed for me when someone said, speak to yourself in the same way you did your best friend. And I thought that was such a nice reframing and something that I could really practice. Of course, sometimes I'm saying, like, you are literally the worst thing to ever exist. I can't believe you just created this right now. Or I definitely do have those thoughts, of course, like everyone does. But then when I can, I'm in a good mental place, it makes such a difference just to be like, do you know what? You've tried, you're learning, and this is what we're going to do for the next time. It makes so. And touch some grass, okay? Like when we're so stuck in our heads, and I say this all the time, like I'm in my desk room right now. And when I'm like overwhelmed of overthinking, it almost feels like my problems can fill up this whole space. But when you go outside, you just realize the world is so much bigger. And it helps you just to reconnect with nature, to understand a new perspective. And it helps you just to feel so grounded again. Does anyone ever go to a park? What do you guys do when you're feeling a bit overwhelmed? I'd love to hear your personal toolkits.
I live in the countryside, so I go for a walk around the lane.
Nice.
Go and see the cows or horses or whatever. Yeah.
That's so nice.
Or just go out in the garden and sit for a minute and breathe.
Yeah, breathing makes a massive difference. Helps to ground you as well. Sarah says, I have an egg chair in my garden. I'd love to go and sit there with a cuppa. I love that.
I live near a park and I go and also look at the ducks and the other birds that we have there, and we have terrapins.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I don't think they're meant to be there, but they're there. And sometimes they sunbathe. Yeah, I think someone's let them out into the wild. So yeah, I go look at the birds too. It's like a free zoo.
It's literally like a free zoo. It's great.
I like to go hiking in the hills around where I live. And our company is currently doing like a walking challenge, like a steps challenge.
No way.
I was able to tell myself that like the last one I went on was company sanctioned, which is really nice.
I love that's so good. Emma also says, I go for a walk to the woods nearby or stand in my garden and watch the birds. There's something about being outside I've noticed that just really helps. What do you think it is? Do you think it's like the space? Is it the air? Is it the...
So this might sound a little woo-woo, and I've only just started the book, so I don't know for sure, but in the book exchange in my building, there was a book, it's in Spanish, but it's essentially earthing, I think is the theme. And it's about the energy we get from the earth and how in modern society, we actually don't ever touch the earth. We're never grounded. Think like electronics, right? The grounding wire so that you don't blow up. So The idea being that by touching the grass, especially if you take off your shoes, or walking on the sand on the beach, or lying in a field or whatever, you're actually getting energy from the earth, is the hypothesis of the book.
I love, please link to the book. I might learn
Yeah,
Spanish just so I can read it.
I'm sure it's a translation. I'm sure it's originally in English. I'll find the Goodreads and put it in the
Yes, please.
chat.
Yeah, there's definitely something about being outside that is just so grounding, and it gives you a great perspective. What was great, especially when I was learning how to code during the pandemic, was the encouragement of people just saying to take a break. Sometimes just looking at a screen for hours on edge is not helping you, especially when you're overwhelmed and you're just feeling like, oh my goodness, how am I going to get through this? Take it, and being encouraged to take a break as well. Like my manager would be like, why are you working at 9 p.m. right now? Log off. And that was actually really nice to see, for him to make that effort to me to actually take that break and have the permission to do so. Go ahead, Emma.
I absolutely agree about, for me, it's stepping away, taking a break, being in a different space.
Yeah.
It does something to how your mind's dealing with something. So, you're describing being in that office space and then the problem's feeling so big and you're kind of trapped with it. There is something about that act of actually physically stepping away from it for a bit. And I find that even just walking literally just around my close that I live in, sometimes it just gives me that chance just to breathe, and then my brain works the problem, and then I find that I can kind of come back to it in a better state to be able to then do something with it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Emma. Yeah, and it's really good when you're able to step outside as well, and you live near to nature. Oh, go ahead, Kelly. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, I had a really good example of this. It was not my current job, it was a job that I was doing previously. And it was during COVID, and I was working with a colleague from another organisation, and she was getting exactly this, like very stressed, too much workload. I think she was at home, she was in a small space, and we used to have like regular catch-ups, not really because I needed to do any work with her, but just to support.
Yeah.
And I remember I was chatting to my youngest child about it one day, and he was 6, and he was like, oh mummy, why were you so long on work? And I was like, oh, I was helping, I can't remember what her name was, Amber, out with something because she was feeling a bit upset, and she couldn't, she was getting really stressed out about her work. And he went, mummy, you know what I do when I'm really struggling with a Lego model? I just do something that's not the thing.
Exactly.
And I was like, oh my God, that's it, isn't it? Just do something that's not the thing. Just go and do something else. And he was like, and then when I come back to the thing, it seems easier.
Yeah. I agree.
So that's what I remember now. Do something that's not the thing.
Because I think your mind just shifts and just completely re-engages something else. So like for me, as an example, I get overstimulated on the tube. That's why I always listen to music, just because there's so much stuff going on. I'm aware that I'm on the tube, but I don't need to hear everything else. So I've got my headphones on. And that just takes me to a totally different place, so that when I come out of the train station, I'm not stressed. I don't feel like, oh my God, I've been on this journey, I'm running late. All of that is just focusing on something totally non-relevant to exactly what is happening in the moment. That's what it feels like for me. So going out, even if you're just having a fag, you're just doing nothing else but just breathing in and breathing out. Honestly, and the act of doing that is just doing, as Rachel said, doing something that is not what you're meant to be doing at that point in time. Just gives you a totally different perspective on stuff.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, it's so powerful, changing your environment and how that can make you feel. Even people say that in terms of like working from different places sometimes, especially when we're working from home a lot, just going to a different area, even if that's a coffee place, a co-working area or something like that, it can just change your energy and how you feel about it. So that's really nice. Does anyone else want to share? Oh, Caroline says, mine is hugging trees. I actually love this. There's a willow tree near me. I think willow trees have energy of wisdom. I'm not sure, but I need to find this out. So hugging trees, I might become a tree hugger. I'm not going to lie to you. Here we are. Amy says, being outside makes you remember there's more going on than just you and your computer. Absolutely. I love this. Oh yeah, thank you, Heather, for the Goodreads link. I'm definitely going to get this book. Earthing, the most important health discovery ever. Yeah, Amy says calls Rachel, you could call your child a genius. True from a 6-year-old. I love that. Oh yeah, this has been amazing. Because we all know that like it can feel overwhelming right now, but as time goes on, we actually relatively gets easier. Like someone was saying about how they don't really feel this imposter syndrome, like those symptoms anymore. And that was actually good to hear. And you just, I guess you just develop a better toolkit to manage it because it's never really going to go away. It's almost like with games, right? And like the more that you go higher in a level, you just have different challenges. It's not the same challenges from level 68 as level 1 was. There's always going to be some kind of challenges. It's not about removing this uncomfortability when it comes to new challenges, but it's just the way that we navigate it and feel for it. So I really love this image and how that depicts that. And I love this quote as well, that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with just a single step. So whenever we see that task, and maybe, well, it's funny because I'm with a whole group of over preparers. It's mostly for my procrastinators who are just avoiding it like I normally am. But take that one single step towards your goal. It feels so much less daunting than thinking, oh, I need to be on step 1,251 right now. Okay, just like grounding yourself, taking a step back and saying, the step 1 is okay, and accepting that, especially when we feel like we need to excel all roles immediately, just embracing that, okay, I'm a beginner, I've been here before, and it takes time. Like people ask all the time, how do you learn this quickly? How do you do that quickly? And it's like, the only 2 things that people hate hearing is it will take time and consistency. And that's pretty much, there's no cheat code to, even when it came to landing a job from in 2 months to a year, like you just need to be consistent. And of course, there's other tactics as well, but consistency is key. And of course, you are not a machine. This is what I always love to end on, especially as high performers, ambitious people. Your best will look different every single day, and that's okay. And it's just about accounting for our high and low energy days, how we feel and what we do when we're low energy, and how we feel and what we do when we're high energy. But just realizing that literally AI goes down. It went down a few months ago. Like it doesn't always work, and we shouldn't be expected to treat ourselves like machines as well. So I'll leave it as that. I'd love to connect with you. I'll send a link to our LinkedIn actually, so we can connect. And I'd love to chat, to be honest. This is the link. Cool. How are you all doing?
Awesome. I love that diagram with the big bubble and then the small bubble. My friend often says that as well. If we go for a walk at lunchtime or something, and she's like, is this something that you're going to be worried about in 2 years' time? No, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Is it going to seem like a big deal? Are you going to get fired? No, it's fine.
I generally often think about my deathbed and just say, what a dying Amber in hopefully 60 plus years be thinking about this. And it's like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah. Kevin, any words?
Just to say thank you, Amber. That was great. And actually, genuinely thank you to everyone that came on the call and shared, because you know the content from Amber would have been the same, but the call anywhere near as good without all of your inputs. So thanks for showing up and being confident enough to talk about our fears and concerns, all that kind of terrifying stuff.
Yeah, thank you all for showing up. It makes such a difference.
Thank you. It was a really interesting conversation.
Yeah.
So everyone that's not eating, go and get your food, go and get your lunch. Have a great day.
I'm going to get my lunch now too, to be fair.
We'll catch you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amber.
Cool. Thank you, everyone.
you.
Bye.
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 Thank you. Bye.